Manager for Heritage at Risk. We focus on nationally listed heritage assets, predominantly the grade 2 star and above. And the two examples that you can see in the slide here are the Wellington Monument, which was recently completed by the National Trust, which we were very closely involved with. And the slide to your left is going to be the focus of my very, very brief 5 minutes. And Chloe, do tell me off if I go over, please. Toneworks is situated in Wellington, and it was historically part of the Fox's textile mill. You are probably at least all familiar with the Tonedale Mill site, which is another of our major projects at the moment. But the Toneworks site was the former finishing and dye works for the textile industry in Wellington, operated by the Fox family. The site is grade 2 star listed and on the Heritage at Risk register, and had been derelict for a number of years, and the owners had not been looking after the building adequately. The council have taken a very proactive approach in this particular case, and in 2020 we actually acquired the site with a significant external grant from Historic England to purchase the site. During the course of this year, we have received 2 major grants from central government in order to do phases 1 and 2 of the capital works required on the site. The first one is now complete and was the emergency structural works and decontamination of the site, and we are just about to embark on phase 2, and so there will be action on site over the rest of the winter and into next spring. And I think the relevance for me coming here today and really telling you about this site is because that when we are able to complete phase 2, we really will be looking to our community and especially our artistic and our cultural community to work out what we do next with this site. We have some ideas, but certainly my perspective is that I don't want to be telling the community in Wellington what to be doing with their historic assets. They really need to be involved in that process of working out what we do next. This process is not going to be quick. It's going to be an incremental process that will continue over many years, but hopefully by next year we'll have the building in a position that we can actually invite people in to really start helping us work out what to do in terms of its future use, and help us really start fundraising and delivering what this site has to offer. You can see from the picture here that the site still contains an awful lot of its original machinery, and that's one of the really, really important things. And it's actually one of the reasons why this is so important is it had 4 different types of power that came into the site, sort of starting with horsepower and then moving up to there's still a water wheel on the site. And all of the different layers of this history still remains. So they never really got rid of anything, they just added to it. So we've got all of this layers of history, and it's really one of the most important sites in its apparatus, dating from sort of 1780 right the way through till about the 1970s when the last of the machines came in. So it's really a site worth celebrating in our authority, and hopefully the next round of works will give everybody a glimpse of, you know, what could be achieved in the site more widely. And so, yeah, we're really, really excited to be able to bring people into the site in the not too distant future and be able to really come up with something really, really exciting and celebrate what is a fantastic, fantastic place. I think that's enough from me, but Brilliant. I'm very happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions for Jo from anybody? I can't see any hands, but Chloe may be able to see hands. If any questions you have as well, we're going to have a session at the end where you can. Oh, Trish.
Trish would like to say something.
It's a daft blonde question.
However, I'm not familiar with the site, but I'm very familiar what they've done up north with things like the Peaky Blinders place where people dress up in historical costumes. It's become a really big tourist attraction and place for people to go. And it's the same as some of the big museums in Manchester as well, with all the cotton history. Is there enough land and stuff that they've left there that could be turned into a real visitor attraction?
Certainly, in part, there is. The quality of what's left, whilst it's in a bad condition, has the potential to be something really very, very special and tell a really exciting story. But I think in terms of its viability and what's going to be done, it's probably, certainly we're conceiving of it as being part of a working place for the community, but also somewhere that we can celebrate that. So I don't think it will be solely a tourist attraction, because I think there are limited issues around access and parking. And actually one of the things we're really, really keen to do is actually connect in with those active travel, those pedestrian walkways. It's very close to the line of the old canal, and it really is very, very well connected locally. So I think there's really opportunities to connect it to the other heritage sites in Wellington, but I think as a tourist attraction on its own, it would be quite a difficult one to sell. But certainly we will want to celebrate its history, probably as part of a bigger package.
Well, I can sense your excitement and love for what you're doing, so I think I can say it's in safe hands, and good luck.
Oh, thank you. I do. I love it. And you can probably tell I'm not from here. And as I say, that's part of the reason why I don't want to sort of be seen to be dictating what happens to it. But the community is very, very lucky to have such a fantastic asset, and I will definitely fight all the way through for it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jo. Any more questions for Jo?
Caroline, Colleen has got a hand up. If I can bring Colleen in.
Colleen.
Hello, Jo.
Yep.
It sounds fantastic, and it's a brilliant opportunity from my point of view, which is my subject really, I suppose. Under employment and skills, is there any opportunity for employment skills, volunteering, work experience, anything that we can engage people with so they start to get more passionate about it, especially within Wellington?
Absolutely. I think this comes in multi-layers. We've had one of the rounds of COVID recovery funding that we had was especially targeted towards bringing those craft skills in. And so we're really looking, when we do the sort of physical and capital works, to make sure that we're bringing apprentices, young people in to actually train in those specialist skills that are not lost. There's, really interesting architectural features throughout here that are very important to that training of heritage skills. On a sort of more practical level, is enormous scope for volunteering in both the shorter and the longer term. In terms of things like skills, we've been told that some of the machines, you could come back and essentially just switch them back on if we had a power source. But there's also others that could be repaired and actually using some of those specialist skills. There's also been suggestions of doing things like almost sort of men in shed type things where we could have, older generations working with younger people to actually get things back up and running and actually get some of these machines brought back to life. There's we've also had interest from the national textile industry, and partly due to things like Brexit and COVID, they're also looking to do a lot more onshoring of their production. So there's also the opportunity to actually bring back those sort of artisan crafts and those sort of small scale works to actually start using the building in a much more meaningful and I suppose it's natural kind of its historic uses as well. So yes, there's endless, once we've got it into a safe state, there is endless opportunities, and I cannot wait to hear all of your ideas.
If you haven't made any connections with anything like volunteering and work experiences and things like that, could I have a further conversation with you, Jo?
I'd love to. At the moment, we haven't really, because we've still got a few rounds of sort of capital works in order to be able to make the building safe enough. But once we've got it that we can invite you all for hard hat tours and actually get some of your ideas, then those conversations, I'd absolutely love to get them going. So thank you.
I have a few people I think to start with, like now, if that's okay, just to build some relationships.
Wonderful. That would be
Thank you.
absolutely fantastic.
Great. I see, Anne, you have your hand up.
Hello. Yeah, really fascinating project. Thanks for sharing. I'm working on a project called Thriving Community Somerset, and I'm trying to increase people's access to lots of activities that relate to social prescribing. So if there's anything you want to share, I'm doing a roadshow event in Taunton on the 18th of January. So if you want to share anything about your project, come along to the Creative Innovation Centre on the 18th of January.
That would be wonderful.
Share that, yeah, network with lots of people, especially if you want to get volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, there's so much scope, and yeah, we'd be absolutely delighted. So thank you. I've got that date in my written down, so I'd love to be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Joe. Oh, another person's raised their hand. Looking.
I think it's Anne's hand.
Oh, still Anne. Oh, right. Great. Right, we're going to move on. We've got Alison Blom-Cooper, who's going to talk us through the Garden Town update and district-wide design guide. This is really, really important in terms of a stronger sense of place for the district and driving up design standards and creating beautiful communities, beautiful buildings that lift our souls and our spirits. So over to you, Alison.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. I joined the council in May this year, and I cover the planning function and economic development, obviously including culture. So I just wanted to bring people up to date with where we are with the Garden Town in particular. Obviously, I'm sure everyone's aware Taunton was designated as a Garden Town back in 2017, and since then there's been a lot of work done on producing design guides and so on for the Garden Town. Since I've arrived, we have just gone out to commission some additional work to look at an infrastructure delivery plan for the Garden Town. That's putting together all the community and other facilities that we need to deliver for the Garden Town to support the housing growth that's proposed. And as part of that work, we're looking at the stewardship arrangements. So that's the long-term management and maintenance of community facilities and the public realm, because traditionally that has been done by local authorities, but obviously with resources being what they are, that's not always done as to such a high standard. And what we are trying to do is to learn from other garden towns across the country where they've put in arrangements for other bodies to ensure the long-term management maintenance of those facilities, particularly looking at models such as in Letchworth Garden City. So that piece of work is ongoing. As part of the work to up the design standards across the district, and this isn't just in the Garden Town, probably most of you will be aware we went out to consultation on a draft district-wide design guide. That is going back to full council following that consultation on Tuesday next week to be adopted as a supplementary planning document. That means it will carry significant weight when we're looking at determining planning applications and proposals going forward. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So that is just setting out the District Design Guide SPD, and that illustrates how the council is going to aspire to improve the quality of design that can be achieved in developments that are coming forward across the district, and particularly looking to integrate placemaking with sustainability. So although it's called a design guide, it very much covers energy efficiency measures and sustainability measures to try and make sure that we meet the objectives of the climate change emergency as well. Going to the next slide. Alongside that, we've also consulted on a Garden Town Public Realm Design Guide, SPD, and that is also going back to full council to be adopted as a supplementary planning document next week. And the aim of that is very much to raise standards of the public realm across the Garden Town. One of the things that I suspect will be of interest to you is obviously there is a focus on public art, and both the district-wide and public realm design guides very much recommend that public art is integrated into the design of buildings and the public realm, and is very much considered to be part of what constitutes good design. So both the local plan for West Somerset and the Taunton Deane core strategy seek to ensure that there is public art incorporated within the larger schemes. Next slide, please. One of the things we've done as part of the district-wide design guides is to introduce a quality review panel. And this is part, again, of us trying to improve the quality of schemes that are coming forward, and the major housing schemes that are coming through across the district. The district-wide design guide includes proposals for the setting up of the quality review panel and sets thresholds of proposals which we expect to go to the quality review panel. And you can see on the slide that is generally 50 homes or 5,000 square metres of commercial floor space. But other controversial or significant schemes, even if they don't meet the thresholds, we would encourage to go through that process. It's a process that's used across the country. I think it's not completely new to the district, although we haven't had a bespoke panel. And the idea of setting up a bespoke panel is that they can get to know the district and the issues here. But to ensure its independence, we have appointed Frame Projects to manage the panel. They manage a number of panels across the country, both in garden towns, but also dealing with issues like Crossrail stations, which we think will be particularly helpful when we come to look at the Wellington station proposals. They advertised for panel members and they've appointed 17 experts. It's being chaired by somebody called Andrew Baharrell, who is an architect, but also has operated through his firm of architects as a developer and bringing forward schemes. So the idea is that the experts are across the range of placemaking skills. It's not just about design, it's about the overall place. The panel therefore will provide independent objective advice both to the councillor's local planning authority, but also to applicants to support planning decisions in respect of quality. And their advice will be material planning consideration when we determine planning applications, either at officer level or at member level. And you can find out further information. I think the slides will be circulated if you click on that quality review panel at the bottom. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm kind of conscious of time, so maybe we need to pick those up in the group discussions.
Anyone have any burning questions for Alison? Hopefully it will flick up on. Just while we're since we're on the subject and public art was mentioned, I know that Tom and others are doing quite a bit of thinking about public art. We have a public art code that dates back many years now, which we are looking at how we sort of reboot, and we're quite keen to kind of put something in place so the new unitary has a really clear approach and policy on it going forward. And who knows, we may be able to do some extra public art in our district in the next year or so. We've got some fantastic public art around, you know, Monkton, Heathfield, Taunton. Watch it with Welly, and it really does make a huge impact in people's lives. Now, was there a hand? Ah, yeah. Oh, Angela.
Please, Caroline.
I just wondered if there were opportunities planned within the North Taunton Woolaway project, which is a huge, development for North Taunton. If there are any plans for public art and for opportunities to incorporate art in that scheme.
I know that we've got a planning application in for part of that scheme at the moment. I don't know whether or not it includes any public art provision, but I can find out and come back to you.
it would be great, wouldn't it? It's a great opportunity, and I'd certainly be working with the project team to work with the community to make the most of those opportunities. Thank you.
That sounds great to me, Angela. We definitely pick that up. I know that there was amazing the hoardings in part of the Willoway project. There was a big community mural made in partnership with Quantox.
Yes,
wasn't there? It's absolutely gorgeous.
That's right. I introduced, joined that up as the engagement lead for the area. That's the sort of thing I mean. I want, because actually we've also funded Somerset Artworks to do a piece of reminiscent artwork that'll be in the first community facility. But I haven't heard of investment or commitment to some public art that hasn't come, you know, that would be built in and significant, because there's some green and open spaces within the project. So it'd be good to know we're committed to that.
Great, we must definitely pick that up. So for now, unless there's any more hands, I can't see any hands. I'm going. Oh, one person.
Crispian.
Hello. Yeah, I wondered whether or not there might be a plan in the future for public art to reinitiate some kind of, like the old 106 agreements for developers, for a percent for art to pay for installations in new developments. So basically get developers to pay for it.
Great.
So we certainly do look to achieving public art as part of developments, but one of the issues that we come across is viability issues. So sometimes it means that we don't secure the full 1% that was set out in the Public Arts Code, which was adopted in 2010, I think. We don't always achieve that. Okay, but presumably there'll be some kind of way of you know, putting extra pressure on people, and if you know, working up this cultural strategy for the town to state the importance, because you know what developers are always going to be out for a buck, but sometimes they have to pay back.
Yeah, they do. I think it's a question of us talking it up as well, how much importance we attach to it, and also highlighting the benefits for them. You know, if you're doing a development and you've got a beautiful piece of art, I mean, okay, the development itself needs to be well designed for starters. It needs to be beautiful and enhance people, but also that could be a big selling, selling point. The other thing we have to do is, as a developer, when we act as a developer, is that we show the way. So, for example, for Firepool, you know, it may be a case of us, we're just talking about engaging an artist to work on the project so that we then commission. So we encourage others to do, but we also do and set the example. And I think it's going to be a bigger priority going forwards. Anne, is yours a legacy hand? If you have a new question, Anne.
Again, I just wanted to flag up that this is what the Thriving Communities Somerset project is doing. We're engaging with Somerset Artworks and Somerset Wildlife Trust and everyone and lots of other stakeholders to promote access to art activities for wellbeing. So I think Carol's here from Somerset Artworks, but you know, we are commissioning projects, we are commissioning activities as part of this project to allow people access to art for their wellbeing. And part of the project we're doing is a sustainable funding plan. So I'd really like to engage with somebody from your team to see how we can continue these projects going forward, because we've started some wonderful projects, but they need funding and support to move forward. So
we'll put a meeting in, Anne.
Thanks.
That's a really good plan. I'm really sorry, we're getting a little bit tight for time. Would it be okay if we had any other sort of questions towards the end of the session, if that's okay? We really want to get you into some breakout groups so we can actually hear your ideas and everything. So that'd be really good if we could move on to our lovely stakeholders that are going to actually, we've got a couple of budding volunteers that are going to give us some stakeholder updates, if that's okay.
Yeah, so Amy, the wonderful Amy Beer, is going to talk to us about the cultural and heritage assets in Taunton group, which is a working group that kind of grew out of the cultural forum. So I'll hand over to Amy.
Thank you, Caroline. Hello, everybody. I have a few slides, so I'll do my Jonathan Van Tam impression. And next slide, please. My name is Amy Beer. I'm the Artistic Director and Chief Executive of the Taunton Brewhouse, formerly the Brewhouse Theatre and Arts Centre. I've been in post for just over a year, and what an extraordinary year it's been for arts everywhere, but an extraordinary year for someone coming in to run an arts organisation in COVID. But I have to say I've had an exceptionally warm welcome from the people of Taunton and lots of people in this meeting, so just want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for that. We have been working as a subgroup, and when I say we, we're talking about the chat group. So next slide, please. We don't just chat. Chat is an acronym. So we are the Cultural and Heritage Assets in Taunton group, and that is built assets. I know arts are assets in all sorts of ways, but we're talking about built assets in Taunton. The idea being that we've been coming together, working as a group and with support from the council to work as a group, exploring our roles and responsibility as kind of cultural spaces and organisations in the town. So the 4 members of the group currently are the Museum of Somerset, Sam Astill, the manager there, Hestercombe Gardens, Tim Martin, who's the head of art, Kikik, the Creative Innovation Centre, Richard, director of Kikik, and myself. So what have we been doing this year? So if we move on to the next slide, I wanted to do just a few highlights. You can see I've been playing here with PowerPoint design because I'm not a designer. Right, so if we think about some of the projects that we've been collaborating on this year, I just wanted to give a few highlights. So despite the lockdown situation and the restrictions of 2020-2021, we have managed to achieve some partnership working this year. So some examples of that: we've collaborated on projects such as a Midsummer Night's Dream in Castle Gardens in August. That was a collaboration between Taunton Brewhouse, Museum of Somerset, the Somerset Archaeological and Natural Heritage Society and the Castle Hotel. And we've presented Midsummer Night's Dream in partnership with Pleasure Dome Theatre, who are based on Exmoor. Hestercombe and the museum have also been collaborating with the Somerset Partnership Arts Education Agency on an art and educational strand of the Quantock Landscape Partnership Scheme, which is called In the Footsteps of the Romantic Poets, which has been engaging with schools in the Quantock Hills area. The outcomes to date include a film for schools, teacher training, artist training programme and workshop delivery on the hills and at Hestercombe Gardens. And we've also, as a group, contributed to the Creative People stream with Kikik, and Richard will talk about that shortly. The second sort of area that we look at is giving peer-to-peer support, so really connecting each other, not just focusing on our own organisations, because part of the challenge of working in organisations is you work in organisations all day, every day, and you don't often get an opportunity to talk on a peer-to-peer level with others. So we've been giving each other that support, which has been, I hope, rewarding for all the partners involved. We're sharing our challenges, but also information and initiatives that might benefit each other, including funding opportunities, partner bids where appropriate. The council, we've been working with Somerset West and Taunton Council in the delivery of the cultural strategy and also inputting into the creation of it. We've provided advice pertaining to the creation of the cultural development team, who brought us together today, and we've worked with the Town Centre Recovery Group, supporting bids from community groups. We've also received funding from Somerset West and Taunton for new initiatives such as the Museum Sunday Opening Trial. One of the big questions that comes up always when we meet as a group is communication, internal communication, external communication. And we found that we've really benefited from sharing information about our upcoming programmes, where there are possibilities for links. So, for example, we had Horrible Histories on stage in the summer, and the museum had Martin Brown's exhibition. Martin Brown is the illustrator on Horrible Histories, and we weren't aware of those two things until we started to meet in this forum with enough time to then make a plan together. So it's not just about outward communicating what's going on so that the public can book and get involved, but also how we best sort of optimise audiences from communicating together. And we also work with reciprocal marketing initiatives, so trying to reach each other's audiences because there's a lot of crossover there. We've provided input into council initiatives to better the town's cultural offer to the public. And then finally, ultimately, we work together to make a strong case for culture, predominantly in Taunton, where we're based, but we hope that that case for culture is Somerset-wide. It's something that we do in the benefit of the town's economic development, so being a desirable place to live and work and also visit. So when we're thinking about that public art question, thinking about what attracts people to Taunton Town Centre, and that might look very different in the next 10 years as it looks now. We've really been excited about Caroline's leadership as portfolio holder, and we support her and her team's conversation with Arts Council, and we believe that working together rather than in competition creates the best outcomes for us all as cultural organisations and for Taunton as a whole. So I'm going to hand you over to Richard Holt from Kikik, who's going to talk to you about Creative People Working Group.
Okay, thank you, Amy. And welcome and hello to everybody out there. And obviously, looking at the list, most people I recognise, but for those that don't know me, I've been working in the Taunton Somerset area now for over 30 years, would you believe, championing the creative sector development. So cultural strategy, very much part of the work has informed the Exeter cultural strategy, Bristol cultural strategy, and been working alongside Somerset West and Taunton on the development of this. So when Dan introduced this session, he talked about that it had been quiet for a while, but when we discussed this as a cultural forum, we were talking about the delivery plan, and one of the things I was very keen to make sure happened was that that it wasn't just a talking shop, that it was actually something that's going to happen. And so it's great to hear, some of the quick wins already during the last 12 months. But we felt that a working group strategy would be the best way forward. So I put my hand up for this particular aspect of the cultural strategy. As you'll be aware, there's people, prosperity, and place. People, for the work that I do in social enterprise, is of particular interest, and the quality and the value that it adds to our communities. So working alongside for the last sort of 3 weeks, really, I've been working with organisations in the district to develop a partnership network to look at health and well-being. Where does the arts engagement programmes add value to the communities that we live in? What's the quality of access to these particular programmes, and what benefits are there of the particular offer and provision out there to our young people? So next slide, please. So we've developed an approach here, and so the first bit really is to identify the existing arts provision. And so a number of you on the Teams meeting tonight, I will have been in touch with and urged you to get involved with this particular piece of research, because I need to know, or we need to know, what is the extent of the offer as it exists, but importantly, start to identify where there are gaps in provision. So the next part of the process would be to start to do a number of co-creation workshops and develop where stakeholders can work together. So very much the sort of work that Amy was talking about in the chat group, about how we can work together in order to minimise and maybe create opportunities to support young people and improve their health and well-being provision and accessibility of that in the district. We would then like to develop those ideas and present them back to the forum. So this is identified in February from the ideas that seem to fit the majority of our resources at hand. we would then go to prototype and then start to refine that with the stakeholders involved. So for those of you who know my background, I'm a design specialist as well, so it wouldn't be too much of a surprise that it mimics the design process, but as a tried and tested thing. Next slide, please. So one of the things that have come out of the research is, and Anne is on this call, and Dimit from Spark. So I was kindly invited to one of the sessions at Sedgemoor, an online meeting, and looking at some of the work that they are doing with regards to the thriving communities. And this is a county, Somerset County Council initiative, but will also be developed to cover the Taunton area. Just using this as an example, really, of some of the really good work that's going on behind the scenes. But I think it's our job to make this visible so that everybody can integrate into the resources that we have. Next slide, please. So to date, we have since November the 9th, I just wanted to highlight the fact that it's very early days. We've been creating a directory of provision. We've had a couple of focus group meetings, and that's really about bringing commissioning groups together with arts practitioners to look at what is it that the clients, the customers, the community are asking for, and whether we can provide that, and what does that look like. And then a couple of online meetings with Spark to look at, rather than duplicating, working together and collaborating with county resources. So the next step is in January. I'd like to put together some workshops working with some of those stakeholders, and I would urge you, if you haven't been, if you provide arts engagement programs, and I have put lots of invitations out there, but if I have missed you, please get in touch with the development team, Chloe or Andrew, and so I can get in contact with you and get you as a part of this ongoing work stream. Thank you very much.
Caroline, you're on mute.
Dang, sorry. Right, we'll keep any questions to the end. We are going to be transported to breakout rooms where, in smaller groups, people have more of a chance to kind of connect, network. We've given you sort of 2 suggested topics to talk about, but really it's your time, and there'll be a SWT bod in each one to sort of feedback at the end. So we're going to come back at the end. So the suggested topics are, what do you need from this forum? What do you want to get out of it? And any ideas you have for working together to achieve sort of key objectives about, you know, whether it's reducing inequalities, support for the creative industries, whatever it is that matters to you. So we are all going to be transported and then come back together.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. I think you've frozen. Oh, I just hope the technology is with us. So just please bear with us a moment. You'll all go into a room each, and if anyone has if anyone's disconnected, come back into the meeting and we'll reassign you. So just or put in the chat that you're having issues, and we'll do our best to try and get you back into the room. So bear with me. It takes a couple of seconds just to connect, and then obviously we'll meet you on the other side. Thank you.
Oh, back in the room. Hi, Keith.
Hello.
You're back from the other side. No, they're all coming.
It's like Doctor Who.
It is spooky. Brilliant. Are we all back in the room? Wowza.
We've returned.
We're here. We have returned by magic, by magic. Fantastic. So I think we're gonna. Is everyone here? Chloe?
I think everyone's back. I just wanted to apologise. I think a few people had some technical issues where they got stuck in the lobby. So many apologies for that. We'll definitely try and get that worked out next time. I know Hazel's been working frantically to try and get everybody back into rooms. So many apologies if you were the ones that got stuck in that gap. But yes, I think we're all back, Caroline. We've made it.
Fantastic. So we had some people in each of the breakout rooms from SWT. Do they just want to give us a flavour? We're going to write all this up. Every single point gets captured, gets filtered, and we will pick everything up. So Chloe, you were in our room. Do you want to just note a couple of the points that were made?
Yeah, absolutely. We ran out of time really because we had so much passion in the room. The key things I think was what you want from the forum was action's really important. You know, a lot of people say, you know, we don't want this to be a talking shop, we want to get stuff done, which I think everybody across in this room now would say, yes, let's get that done. And the nice thing is we've got some more before, so fingers crossed we can all get that rolling and get stuff actually into action really. Partnership working, collaboration, having small scale meetings to improve our communications with everybody. And I think, you know, the key thing is that Andy, Dan and Caroline, obviously, we can be a point of contact. We can put you in sort of touch with other people, in touch with people across the council. If you've got an issue, get in touch with us. We've got a new email, cultural development, and we can obviously try and improve this communication that way. And I think joined up working on funding streams came up in ours as well, didn't it, Caroline? So we'll definitely take that point back. And I know we ran out a bit of time, but we've said that there are chats on our rooms. So if anyone's got comments they didn't get to make in their breakout session, we've just said put everything on there and let us know what all your comments and ideas. As far as the question on how we work together to actually achieve the objectives in the cultural strategy. We were saying about obviously how the street markets event organisers used to get together bi-monthly and on a quarterly basis to kind of help each other and sort of promote each other's events and to try and make sure things don't clash. So we think, you know, we can take that away and actually, you know, facilitate something to make sure that, you know, we know that one event is on this weekend, another event's on another weekend, to get the best out of, you know, sure that, you know, our economy's booming. Really, so but yes, that was the kind of a very high level overview of what we talked about in ours, but I'll hand over to Dan.
Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, actually a lot of those same themes and points were picked up in our discussion group too. Sort of started off by I think everybody agreeing that, you know, this is a really good time to re-engage in the conversation and to re-energize the cultural strategy and you know, create new relationships and groups and collaboration and all of that really, really strong. Crispian came up with a particularly key point around the power of data. So I'm going to completely cheat and go against protocol and ask Crispian, could you just articulate for us that point again, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the point was that this is obviously a really big group, and it's great that so many different organisations are getting involved in this. What I was saying is there needs to be a little bit more data about the cultural and economic impact of all these organisations in the varying districts, so that we can easily make a case for further investment. And the fact that the sort of ecosystem slightly changed, in that lots of organisations used to be dependent on sort of council funding and things like that. Those days are sort of over. So everybody's sort of not vying for the same pots of money so much anymore. So actually it's a sort of perfect storm for collaborative working. And also, as Amy was saying, about larger organisations being able to partner with some of the smaller organisations to do skill sharing, to sort of work more collaborative on larger projects. I think the cultural regeneration of the town, or the regeneration of the town altogether, needs to rely on culture very strongly. I mean, that's the thing that will really differentiate Taunton from lots of other towns. With this amount of people and this amount of brains on a group like this, we've got a great opportunity.
Thanks, Crispian. There was lots of other things said, but I'm going to move the baton across to another group now. I think, Craig, you were facilitating another group.
It was Alison.
Oh, did we have 3 in the end?
Yeah, we did.
We were with 3.
Sorry, Alison.
It's all right. That's okay. I think some of the points that you've picked up, Dan and Chloe, were raised in our group. So I'll just quickly run through the main points made. The group would like to see the benefit from the crossover with employment and skills, and the fact that arts and culture can promote transferable skills through volunteering opportunities. Good communication was a theme that came up. What is the cultural list and cultural calendar? And helpful to have a list of contacts of this group so that they can engage outside this forum. How do we generate audiences? And a means of ensuring we know what is going on. I suppose that's the kind of the economic side of things. A feeling that obviously what the cultural strategy does is quite broad and wide, and it would benefit from being chopped down into segments and subgroups potentially, so that crossovers with good impact can be realised and action points can actually be delivered. And in terms of how we work together and achieve this, I think there was a general feeling that the sessions like this were good for sharing what was going on or what was happening and making sure that people knew what would happen, but also regular updates, perhaps through email or a newsletter or something, would also be very helpful.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alison. There is actually, Chloe, we were going to ask you actually, but we can ask this. We're going to do a post-forum survey, and we were going to ask precisely, are you okay for us to share your contacts? And we are planning on doing a newsletter so that if there's a funding opportunity that comes up, there's a pot of funding, we can let you know about that. We can let you know key updates at our end if we've done something's happening. So that was one thing we're going to ask anyway in the feedback. So we're sort of on the newsletter and on the everyone having access to other people's contact details if you agree to that, obviously, because that's your you have rights to privacy under the GDPR. That's brilliant. So our next, we've only got 5 minutes left. I don't know, does anyone have anything burning that they feel they have not had the chance to say that specifically me and the team really need to hear? I'm not seeing a hand. Rest assured, I have been listening extremely carefully, and I think I found this just incredibly useful because already without this contact, we just can't function. We all have to work together. We all are going to collaborate, and we are going to be meeting again end of February, and we're also thinking of in between, we can have a quarterly meeting, but we do have subgroups. So it may be that we set up a range of subgroups where people actually come together and work. And as you've seen from Amy's report back on chat, it's not just chat, it does actually deliver. It has actually led to a lot of new initiatives, including investment. So it's well worth you guys sticking with us on this for sure. And then in between actual meetings, having some networking opportunities, because I'm critically aware you guys are all busy doing your thing, and where a lot of you might have a lot of contact with the public, you maybe don't get that peer-to-peer always, or you might only mix with certain people in certain areas, and it'd be really great for people to have that networking opportunity. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Chloe? What have we forgotten?
No, I think you've covered it all there, Caroline. Yeah, just to say that obviously we have got hopefully a new newsletter coming out. That's in motion now. The only thing, I don't know if Andy's still on the call. I think he attended, he's gone into one of the groups, but it might be really nice just for Andy to say hello, because he's managed to join us. He's finished his jury duty.
Yay!
Yeah, sorry I was a bit late coming to the meeting. I have been doing jury duty for 2 weeks, so do apologise. Yeah, I think a lot of people obviously know who I am, and they're probably thinking, what's my connection with the role that I have now as a cultural development specialist in Taunton? I'm the glue, basically. I do the external stuff. So basically, I'm your first port of call. If you want to discuss anything, my idea is to also look at potential funding streams in the future and how we might be able to collaborate on that. But obviously, as long as most of those things fit the cultural strategy and we can deliver on that and present that cultural strategy data, as Crispin said, to a larger audience who might be able to even make this cultural strategy extend beyond its time period. But it's I only work at the council 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you do want to get in contact, just let me know. And literally any question, it doesn't matter. I am here to basically take your inquiry and see if we can do something with it. And I'm sure I'll be visiting a few of you stakeholders in the next couple of months as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Oh, it's part of my screen frozen. Am I still even here?
I think it's just it's open to questions. I can hear you, Caroline. Just any questions. Obviously, a couple of minutes. I don't know if anyone's got anything else to say. Obviously, if anyone doesn't want to be on the mailing list or has any issue with their details being shared, please let us know, and we'll make sure that's kept private. But yeah, is there any questions? Is there? Or you're all talked out? I think that might be it. We can probably wrap up and close, and I'll let you do the thanks, Caroline.
Yeah, no, thank you to all of you, especially those of you who presented, especially to Amy and Richard, because it's not your job to have to do this. So really, really grateful to you, all of you, for your time, because this has been so useful to me, and I think we're going to have a lot of really good stuff to be cracking on with. And I really look forward to seeing you all again as a group in person, ideally. COVID willing. Next time we'll be in person, and I look forward to working with you all going forward. Thanks ever so much for coming and for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you to you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.